Hello!
Hi!
Yay!
So exciting.
I'm so excited for this.
Me too. It's so lovely to see you.
Yeah, you too. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And lovely to meet you, Georgia.
It's so nice to meet you. You look so cute. Oh my gosh, I love your whole look.
Thank you so much.
So, hi everybody. Thank you so much for watching. This is episode 3 of In Conversation With. I'm Shay Miles, one half of Jiggle and Juice, and I have Georgia Took, my other half. And today we are joined by Rosanna Rose. So Rosanna, do you want to just give a little intro about who you are and where you are?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rosanna and I'm a printed textiles and surface designer, currently studying textiles at the Glasgow School of Art. But I'm originally from the Highlands, which is very close to Shay, but based in Glasgow at the moment.
Nice. Yeah, so this is so weird, like our little love story, because we followed each other on Instagram for like ages, right? And then
Yeah.
and you're from like close to my hometown, and then I only met you like in real life last year when I came to Glasgow to see Mark, who is one of my closest friends and your partner. So that was like what I was telling Georgia about that story, and like I still like just love that weekend when we like fell in love, and it was just like so lovely.
Yeah, it was so lovely. I can't wait to recreate when galleries are open. We can
for
do
sure.
it all
Yeah.
again.
I know Shay was just telling me about your ideas, when you had that like creative weekend in Glasgow forever ago.
Yeah, it was so good. So yeah, awesome.
Okay, so Shay and I have like a background in contemporary art practice, but you said that you are a textile student. So how exactly would you define your creative practice? So I feel like you do more than just textiles.
Yeah, so generally we always work with color, form, and shape as like the basis of the practice, but it doesn't always only have to work with textiles. So it can work on any kind of surface. So mural design, ceramics, just whatever.
So you're still at art school, which blows my mind. Like even when I like going on your Instagram, I'm constantly just like, how is this girl like not an established, like you are an established artist, an established designer, like how it just blows my mind the fact that you have like so much content, so much like consistently as well, and your brand is so consistent. So like how have you actually refined that to be so you?
I think I'm definitely aware of the fact that like I'm still learning, and like my practice 5 years from now is probably going to be so different to what it is now. And that's great. Like I really like working through projects and kind of learning from that and seeing how my style changes through that. But definitely I think I have like the same kind of handwriting of design almost no matter what I'm working on. And that all comes back to like this idea of play in design and just making work that is joyful. And I think that kind of comes across with whatever I do kind of intuitively without thinking about it too much.
Yeah, no, that is a massive standout like in your practice, definitely, is that you kind of like any project that you post or anything that you're doing, it is just so like remarkably you, and that's not something that people like. I was saying to Georgia, I don't even think I have that, like, and I'm almost a year graduated, like I feel like you just really have like just this amazing consistency that not everyone will ever have, and obviously yeah, your like style and your outputs are going to change and evolve over the course of your life because you are so young still, but like it is just so impressive, and everything you do, you already know that I'm literally obsessed with everything that you do. So yeah, that's just amazing to hear.
I think that happens with everyone though, like without thinking about it, all the work that you create has your own style to it. Like it could, like your performance even has the same kind of style as your photography. It's just that feeling that you have, which is yeah.
I guess so, but then yours is just so like, I don't know, like visually consistent. Like I feel like if without it being my face in my work, like you wouldn't necessarily know it's me, but with you, like you could, your face isn't on it, and I know that it has you all like written all over it, you know.
Oh, thank you.
I know, I like was going through Instagram like so many times, like when we were coming up with questions and everything. I just like, it's so like warm and lovely to just like look at all of your work all together. I'm like, I want my whole house to just like be like Rosanna. Like that would be like the best.
That would be the dream.
Yeah,
Make the whole
exactly.
house of stuff.
Totally. I was wondering like who or what do you look to for inspiration when you're making things?
So I think definitely like artist wise, there's a few kind of lifestyle brands that I really love. So for example, Gorman, they're an Australian fashion brand, and they have this children's wear part of their brand called Gorman Playground, and they just produce the most gorgeous prints, like bold colors, playful designs, and yeah, I just love it all coming to life. It's really cool to see. Also like art studios like Studio Proba. Don't know if you've heard of them, but I love the way that they just kind of put their work onto so many different mediums. So recently they made a swimming pool and they just covered their designs inside the whole pool, and it was
Love that.
gorgeous. So yeah, I love brands like that just kind of, they just do whatever they want and they have that whole consistent feeling through their whole brand, which is great to see. And yeah, just also like things around me. So like the urban landscape, ways that colors kind of sit next to each other, and interior spaces as well.
So do you think Glasgow then has quite a big impact on like the work you create, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think like only on sunny days, definitely the way that the light kind of comes down onto the city and like reflects through the different like reflective surfaces on the buildings, and it sometimes just makes these like really lovely like fleeting moments of color, which I love. And just walking through the city and like noticing things like that is so inspiring. But also the Highlands has a lot of that in kind of a more subtle way, like more of their like the natural forms of the landscape, and like the curves of the landscape are really inspiring there.
I love that. Yeah, you mentioned.
Beautiful.
Oh, what?
So that's so beautiful. I love that.
Well, yeah, Georgia, you've been to Nairn. I took you to Nairn when you were in Scotland, so you've seen that, and you also went to Skye as well with your family. So you've seen the Highlands, so you can maybe like.
So dreamy. Yes.
I was gonna. So something that really like strikes me about your work is that it's so versatile. Like you did that coffee table, which, oh my God, make more and let me buy it. So you did the coffee table, and you do prints, and you do like homeware, which I assume they're like homeware mock-ups.
Yeah.
So you've got like a lot of your work can translate onto like a lot of different objects and come in different like forms. So like how do you kind of choose what it is that you actually want to make?
I think usually at the start of a project, I won't have like a set outcome of what I want it to be. So I'll start out just really looking at the basics and kind of like trying to find a color palette and the shapes that I want to be using. So I don't really set out to create a certain thing. And then it will just kind of come to me like in the middle of the night or something. I'll see something and I'll just think like, right, I want to experiment with that and see if it's possible to do. But I think that only really came about like during the pandemic mostly, because I didn't have access to the print studio. So I was kind of forced to find other ways of making work that wasn't necessarily just on fabric or on paper. So yeah, it's come about recently a lot more.
Where is your coffee table? What have you done? Is like, do you have it still?
Yeah, it's at home. It's in Inverness. It's in our conservatory right now. So it just sits there with a little bowl of fruit on it. And
Do you think,
I go home and I'm like, I wish I had it in Glasgow, but
do you think you would want to do like more stuff like that and like maybe do like a little shop or something eventually?
definitely, I would love that. I'm going into fourth year next year, so I kind of have to choose like the direction that I'm going to go in, and I definitely want to do like more lifestyle stuff. So tiles will appear again, hopefully.
I feel like that's so awesome, like how resourceful you were to like, be stuck in your tiny apartment, no studio access, and then thinking, okay, feel like I'm on a roll here. I'm going to like choose different mediums. Like that's so awesome. I was wondering, so Shay's giving me like a tiny like peek into your process, but I want you to like elaborate more on it. Do you have like a specific process when you're like starting something new?
I definitely do. Like, I feel like to be comfortable in a new project, I kind of go through set stages at the start, almost to just get the ball rolling. If you sit there with a blank sketchbook, you're never going to start on anything. So usually I'll either go for a walk, like I said, and take pictures of like color combinations and things like that, or I'll gather objects together and just kind of play around with them and make like a setup that I can then draw inspiration from. And then from there, it can really go in any direction. But I like to have like a mixture of art that I make quite physically. So like splashing paint around and just like working really intuitively. And then also things that are a bit more considered. So going into like digital design and then actually like finding a finished product at the end of it.
Is that your favorite way? Do you prefer to be spontaneous, or do you prefer to like sit down and really kind of like refine it?
I feel like I definitely need both. Like if I'm finding that I'm kind of working digitally for a long time, I get really like burnt out and I just can't come up with any ideas and I'm just like at a loss. And if I then just like switch it around and just try and do something completely different, usually it kind of helps me to get out of that rut almost. So yeah, I think they definitely work together.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I feel like that probably is like a really good combination of working as well, is like, because you do kind of need like a little bit of structure, but then at the same time, like I'd imagine a lot of the work that is spontaneous is just so kind of like liberating to actually do. Something I was wanting to ask was, I don't have a design background, so I'm not really sure of like I guess like the process of kind of self-designated briefs. So it seems like that's something that you kind of, I don't know whether that's because of like your course or if it's just something that you like to do for Insta. But like recently you made the post of Louis Theroux with like you revamped his cover outfit.
Yeah.
So I was wondering like why do you do these like kind of additional like self-designated briefs?
Well, I think, well, with that one specifically, I'd been working with suits on the last project I did. So they were just like in my mind all the time and I was still thinking about them. And I saw that and I was like, oh, it would be really cool if I could do that. And I thought, well, I can use Photoshop. So why not see what it looks like? But no, generally, I think that definitely started during the pandemic, kind of when uni shut and I wasn't getting any briefs from my tutors. And I had a bit of a panic thinking like, am I not going to make any work now? Like, how do I make my own work if I don't have a deadline? So I just started to kind of give myself like my own mini deadlines, just really small things. And I think it just kind of helped to like keep the creative flow going, and just doing what I enjoyed and like trying out things that I hadn't done before, trying to like get over that imposter syndrome of thinking that you can't do certain things just because you've never done it before. So yeah.
Would you recommend like for other creatives that they kind of make work they want to make, like you wanted to do that, you know, so like would you recommend that as like a way to to kind of broaden your practice a wee bit, or maybe like get out of the rut of maybe like not making work?
Yeah, totally. Like, I think it's so easy, like if you're in uni or if you're just making work, because that's what you love doing, it's easy to make something that other people will like, or your tutors will like. So if you make something that you like yourself, then what more can you want? Like, that will attract other people to it, and that's like the main reason that you do it. So
Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh. I feel like I want to do more of that, like more just like exercises to kind of like, you know, pump your creative juices a little bit. Because I feel like sometimes we're like so obsessed with like finding our own like original voice that we like shut out other inspiration. But like, how can you find your own voice if you're not like letting in all of these other sources of inspiration and like building off of that? Like, I feel like that's kind of what making art is all about, is like adding your own voice to this like collective. I think that's like such a good idea. I feel like I definitely want to do that myself now. I want to go back to color a little bit, because I'm just like so fascinated with like your use of color. I just feel like it just like comes so naturally to you. And so I was wondering like if you could just like tell us a little bit more about like the role of color. Like, is it just like the like intuitive the way you put them together, or is there like color theory, or what like what is the role in your practice of color?
I think I always feel strange saying that color is like so integral to my practice, because it really is for every single creative person. Like, everyone uses color, so how can it be your thing almost? But I think it's almost that kind of connection that color has with memory in a way that I really love. So like if I'm making a painting, I'll like listen to music at the same time, and as I'm kind of using these colors and not thinking about it, and then when I look back on that painting afterwards, I can look at a certain color and almost like remember the song that I was listening to at the time. So they definitely have like a power to like evoke memory in people, and people will associate them with different things, and they're really like everyone can do that. You don't have to be an artist to respond to color. So I think that's a really lovely thing about it.
It's almost like a universal language that we all share. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so well put. I love that.
That's like something that I also kind of think sometimes is like, oh my god, this is what everyone says, like you like art is the way it is because we all love color and we all like respond to color, but that's still like
Yeah.
such a valid like thing, especially because it is so important to your work and so important to people like falling in love with your work, you know, like if it was all black and white it wouldn't have the same impact. And so it is like, yeah, it's totally warranted to say that. Something that Georgia always talks about is an artist's aha moment. So whether that's you know, when you kind of find like thematically or contextually what you want to work with. But I feel like maybe for you it was more sort of when the first time you ever made something in your style that you were like, fuck yeah, this is what I
Yeah.
love to make. Do you have like an aha moment?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like, it goes back quite far. I think when I was in school, and you probably had this too, you either had like realistic still life or a realistic portrait, and that was kind of presented to you as the only parts of art that you could go down, the only routes you could go down. So I left school a year early and went and did an art foundation in Ullapool, and that was kind of where I was like first started to experiment with different types of art beyond that. Um, and we were going through the weeks and I was enjoying it, but I never really found like the thing that I wanted to do for the rest of my life until I think it was the second term, one of the last projects, and I started experimenting with abstract work for the first time, and I just loved it. And I think it was the first time like I was in like a state of flow when I was working. So I just wasn't really thinking about what I was doing or what the outcome was going to be. And I was just actually enjoying it for what it was. So that's kind of when I knew that's what I wanted to do.
I love that. I love that so much. I was actually just speaking to somebody the other day about like art at school. Like, I don't know what it's like over there, Georgia, but it's exactly how you described it. Like, it's very limited and it's very much checking boxes, and you know, like you have to do what the SQA like set out for you, and it's like that is literally not what art is. And that's one of the main reasons why I would never ever go into teaching, because I just don't agree with it. I just think it's absolute bullshit. And if it wasn't for me doing the exact same thing as you, I left school a year early and did an HNC at college and to get my portfolio together. Like, if I hadn't done that, I would have been clueless, because the way that art is presented at school. So that's a really interesting point, and also the fact that we've had the same experience with that as well.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, they like that was the same in like in grade school as well. Like if you were in art classes, you were drawing or painting, and that was it. That's all art is. So I actually didn't take any art classes in high school. I didn't take a single art class. And then my first year at university was just like undeclared general studies. So it was mostly just like English, philosophy, gender studies, like just writing papers for a year. And then I was like, thought about doing art, and it's just snowballed from there. So yeah, I just completely agree. Like I was like, it's just so funny how like we just have such like a narrow idea of what art is when we're like so much younger. But going back to university, I was wondering if you could tell us about how you found studying at GSA like during the pandemic, and how it's affected your practice and or the way you view the art world in general.
I think it has definitely been really eye-opening. Like, up until the pandemic, I definitely relied on that whole studio vibe, which is so amazing, and that's like the main reason that people go to art school, is you're surrounded by other people and you're in there for the whole day making work together, like critiquing each other's work. Like, it's just, it all happens so naturally, and I think you can get really used to that, and when that's taken away, it's just really scary. And that's almost like a sped up process of graduating, because when you graduate, that all goes away as well. So it's kind of like a realization of that's what's going to happen. Like, it doesn't last forever. So there was a few weeks of being really sad. And then I just kind of wanted to see like what good could come out of it, if anything. And like I was saying before, just like pushing myself to do things that I wouldn't have before, and like being resourceful with materials as well. Like, you can't just go to a shop and buy something. Like, you've got to use what you've got around you, and that's probably something I'm going to carry on doing after, like just not buying loads and loads of things, and actually just trying to do what you can with what you have.
I love that. Yeah, that's literally like one of my first projects that I did in the pandemic. Was just, I set myself the challenge to not buy anything new and just use stuff that I already had at home. And it was really fun. Like, it was challenging because I'm so used to being like, ooh, I'll go on Depop and find this. So like that is just that is a big thing. And also like I feel like because I visited your studio last year, and for the open studio, so and I kind of really got a sense of how important like that is for you. And so yeah, it's shit. And but I'm glad that you're still making, and you're not left feeling uninspired. So you're also part of a collective. Is it Kaliach? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Kalia, whatever. It's a Gaelic word.
Yes. Yeah. So sorry. I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about it, because obviously you know that we are both absolute stans, and yeah, just like where that came from, and a bit about the collective.
Yeah, so me, Maddie, Katie, and Cara, we all met. It was back in 2016. We went to this arts retreat that was organised by Room 13, who are a community of artists in the Highlands who organise things like that for young people. And it was all free, accessible to anyone. And we met there and had such a lovely week together. And I always kind of wanted to do something together, but it never came about. We had other projects, we were busy with other things. But during lockdown, we came back together and we wanted to do something that would mean that people in the Highlands could have the same opportunities of how we met, because there's really not a lot of that at all, as you'll know. So our main ethos behind the whole collective is just thinking about us when we were younger and what we needed and what we would have benefited from, and just making that for other people. And I think it's really lovely. We've got such a nice community of people who have all come together and would never have known each other otherwise. And they're just sharing their work with each other and getting involved in all these projects. And it's not exclusive. You don't have to be in an art school to be involved in it, which is so important. And yeah, we love it.
Oh my gosh, I love that too. That's so great. I feel like thinking about what you needed when you were younger. I definitely know that Shay and I talk about that all the time, how there's just so many ways that art school has been so fantastic, and then so many ways that it has fallen short. And so it's so nice that we're picking up the pieces here. But yeah, Shay and I oh my gosh, we just love what you guys are doing. Every time you post something, I'm that is just such a good idea. Save, share, amazing.
About you guys.
I know we're we're gonna start wrapping up here because we're running out of our Zoom call. But I wanted to ask you what you had planned after you graduate. I totally thought you were in fourth year, and you just seem you're so ready for the real world.
Not at all.
So I mean, do you have plans for after you graduate, or even you could just say what are your plans for fourth year? What are your plans for the future?
I have big dreams, of course, of things that I would want to work for a print company, be a designer as part of a huge team. But I think if I think too much about the future, I'll just freak myself out. So definitely taking it one step at a time. I think I would like to do a master's once I graduate. I think I'm really enjoying being in uni, and I still think I've got a lot to learn, so I definitely want to carry on that path. But yeah, just after that we'll see what happens. Keeping an open mind.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Yeah.
I think not to shit on what you just said, you're saying that you want to go and work for with a big team. Honestly, you could fucking do it yourself. You could literally make your own print house. Come on, if you're gonna dream big, dream the biggest.
I would absolutely love that, but I think I need a team of people around me to work the best. So if I could hire a team of people, then that would be great. But in the future, who knows?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I will work for you. You don't even
yeah, exactly.
I will work for you. So on that note, do you have any advice? Do you have any go-to advice for other creatives?
I think the main thing is just make work that you enjoy, because there's always going to be trends in design, and there's always going to be critiques and people who don't like what you do. But if you like what you do, then I think that's the most important thing. So yeah, just do what you enjoy and keep going, keep pushing through little ruts, because they're so common and they happen all the time, but they'll make you better from it. You'll learn from them.
Amazing. I second that.
I third that.
So if we want to see your work, where can we see your work?
Probably Instagram is the best place. So it's rosanna.print or Rosanna Rose. Search either of them, you'll probably find me. And then Callias Collective on Instagram as well. So CAILLEACH Collective.
Lovely. Thank you
And
so
we'll
much.
link all of that down below.
Oh, yeah,
of
that
course.
will be
Yeah.
linked as well. Anything else anyone wants to add before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today and chatting with us. This was so nice. I'm so happy I finally got to meet you.
I know, thank you. It's been lovely and lovely to see you and chat again.
Honestly, like, your enthusiasm is probably enough to make anyone that feels a little bit stuck right now just gagging to make some work. And I honestly think that, like, yeah, you've I mean, that's happened to me. So, like, just
I
you're
hope so.
a very inspiring and very determined person, and I just love your work.
Thank you so much. So lovely.
Well, that's all. Let's just I'll take a moment to appreciate, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.